talk now about the Chagos Islands, and this is, it's a dispute that might have been bubbling along. You might not have actually spotted this, but the UK has now been called an illegal colonial occupier by Mauritius after it ignored a deadline to return control of an overseas territory to the island nation. So the UN gave us 6 months to give up control of the Chagos, but that period has now passed. Mauritius says it was forced to trade it's a small archipelago, it's in the Indian Ocean, and it was forced to trade it in 1965 for independence. The UK, meanwhile, says it doesn't recognise Mauritius's claim to sovereignty. It says the UK has no doubt as to our sovereignty over the British Indian Ocean territory, which has been under continuous British sovereignty since 1814. Mauritius has never held sovereignty over the BIOT, and the UK does not recognise its claim. So Britain essentially ignoring the calls means that we might have sanctions here and there and various other things. We have Sabrina Jean, who leads the Chagos Refugees Group in the UK, and also James Farrar, who's the head coach of the Chagos men's international team. First of all, if it come to you, Sabrina, good morning to you.
Morning.
So tell me about the Chagos Refugees Group.
The Chagos Refugees Group has been founded in Mauritius, led by Mr. Bunkle. And after that, when I moved to the UK in 2006, in September 2008, we created the Chagos Refugees Group UK branch. So, the Chagos Refugees Group, we fight for the right of return for all Chagossian communities around the world.
Tell me about the islands, because there's only one, I think, which has people living on it. Is that right?
Yes, there is no Chagossian living on the island. First of all, I'm a second generation born from a Chagossian father. My father was born on one of the islands called Perros-Banus, where many Chagossians from Perros-Banus, Solomon Island, and Chagossia have been removed to their own island, returning them back to Mauritius. But on the Chagossia, you have the largest military base in the world, where you have Filipinos, Sri Lanka, British, American, Mauritian people who are working on the island, but no Chagossians.
Yes, that's on Diego Garcia Island.
Yeah, on Diego Garcia.
On Diego Garcia. Now, the UK has repeatedly apologised for forcibly evicting the Chagossians between 1968 and 74 and sending them 1,000 miles away to Mauritius and the Seychelles, and some, of course, coming to Britain as well. What would you do if Britain actually were to give the Chagossians back?
Especially me as a second generation, if they return the Chagos Island back, we will be happy to go to our island. Even I'm second generation, I've been fighting for the right of the Chagossians for decades, since I was 15, but I always said, everyone has the right to live on their motherland. Why not us?
Yeah. And tell me about the islands themselves. I mean, have you ever managed to visit, to go anywhere near the Chagosian Islands?
Yes, I got the chance to visit in 2011 when the British government made the trip for the Chagossian every year. When I've been learned about the island when I was 15, when I joined the Groupe Enfants Illois. It's a youth group for the Chagos Islanders. So I've learned a lot about my culture, about how the people on the island were living, and also why the deportation takes place. And when, especially the natives, when they talk about the island, you can feel it, how paradise it was. But when I went in 2011, it was not the same like they always talk with passion, with love about this country. Especially the country where my dad has been born, on Perros-Banus. is devastated. You have just a structure. It's abandoned. The cemetery, no one takes care of it. Solomon Island is the same, but when you see where the American is living, is working on Diego Garcia, it's like a little America. It's heartbroken to see how they don't take care about the country.
Yeah. Sabrina, we're going to leave it there for just a moment. Thank you very much. Also, the line is a bit difficult. Sabrina Jean there. James Ferris, head coach of the Chagos men's international team. James, good morning to you.
Morning, Penny.
Good morning. So this is a football team.
Yes.
And tell me how it all started.
2013, Sabrina started the football team. I've been on board for the past 6 months. Me and Sabrina got talking on Twitter, and we play under the Canifa umbrella, which is similar to FIFA, your international teams like England and France and Brazil, but this is it's a confederation for independent football associations, so your unrecognised countries and the states. So you've got North Cyprus, Western Armenia, Western Sahara, us and so on. So I thought it was a good opportunity. I also saw the potential for the Chagos Islands. I see Gibraltar qualified for FIFA last year, so I think the Chagos Islanders should also have the right to...
So what did you know about the Chagos Islands before you got involved?
Well, I'm actually from Crawley. I was born and brought up in Crawley, where in the UK, where the majority of the population is. So we've got between 2,000 and 2,500 of the Chagossians, and the second and third generation actually in Crawley. So I know a lot about them. They've had local teams that have played in local leagues over here for a little while. I know a few of them played for me previously on a personal level. I know them quite well. So, yeah, I got talking to Sabrina and thought it was a good opportunity.
When you say it's a good opportunity, you mean a good opportunity to actually get together, get to talk informally, and maybe, as you say, sort of kind of bring this a bit more to the fore? Yeah,
I think when I started, I don't think a lot of people knew the story. I think there's been a lot of activists recently that have brought it, especially on Twitter, brought it to the forefront, and a lot more people know about the cause now and know about sort of the injustice, if you want to go down that route. My point of view, I saw the boys as a team, as a little family that wanted to play football together, didn't really have the opportunity or the facilities. They struggle with funding a lot, everything's self-funding. So yeah, I just wanted to go in, and I wanted to go for a bit of a different, from my point of view, going for a different job, so to speak, and help them build a little family up.
Yeah, and so it is now. You do actually play games?
Yes, we do, yeah.
Yeah, have you managed to win any?
Since I've been in charge, we've had one friendly that was just after I started, that was down in Cornwall, which we lost. We won't go into that one too heavily, but we have actually got our second game. We're playing a Supporting Charities Foundation next Sunday in Manchester.
Yeah, but obviously the problem is you've got quite a small pool of people to choose from, haven't you?
Yes, we have, yeah. When you can imagine a team like England that has probably got 10 to 20,000 to pick from, yeah. I've got a pool of about 20 to 25 players.
Yeah, so who has the hardest time of it, James?
Do you know, I think that Sabrina's got a massive task on her hands. She's in between her 2 or 3 jobs. She's forever campaigning for the calls and everything like that. I've got a little bit of a life of luxury, really. I turn up to football training once a week, hear some of the problems, try and help Sabrina as much as I can with them, but you know, I think a lot of the players have also got their own issues with immigration purposes and stuff like that, which
tends to loom a little larger than playing. Tends to loom a little larger than playing football. Now, Britain has ignored these calls to hand back the Chagos Islands. The deadline. There is a deadline. It's not binding. There's no sanctions, no immediate punishment. Although, I mean, that could all change. Do you and Sabrina feel a little more positive?
I wouldn't want to speak for Sabrina on that part. I think, from as far as I know, a lot of things have been ignored previously. I don't see any change to that at the moment. You can have a look on YouTube and see some of the videos politically, what people think of the islanders and words that have been said previously. So I don't think there's a massive amount of hope, but there is always a hope that they're going to go back, yes.
Yeah, and always remain optimistic. James, thank you very much. That's James Farrow, who's the head coach of the Chagos men's international team, as a football club that I didn't know existed.